right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Sober Yoga Girl Podcast. I'm sitting here with Amanda Kuda today, and we were just chatting before we started recording that I actually had her on my podcast, and I think it was maybe in the pandemic. It was like 2 years ago. It was so long ago. And it's so amazing to have this opportunity to circle back and connect and watch your journey over this period of time. And I'm just super proud of everything you've accomplished. So welcome back, Amanda. How are
Thanks,
you?
Alex. I'm so excited to chat with you again.
It's nice to have you here. And so Amanda did an episode way back on the podcast. And I was just wondering, before we get into today's episode, which I'm going to be interviewing Amanda about her new book, Unbottled Potential, which is actually going to be the Sober Girls Yoga book club book for the month of October. In the original episode I had Amanda on, it was a pretty detailed episode about her sobriety journey, but I was wondering if you could give us a little bit of context before we start talking about your book. How did you get sober? How did you get to where you are now in a nutshell?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, don't worry. I've zipped this story up we can tell the fast version. I never intended to be sober forever. But my story, there's nothing really significant either about my story with alcohol. Yes, I was a party girl. Yes, there were plenty of nights I, didn't remember, and blackouts and all of these things that I think that most people have in their story. And I just realized at some point that my life was kind of small with alcohol in it, and I wanted it to be bigger. Mm-hmm. And as much as I fought that, which I tell this story in the book, as much as I fought sobriety being the answer, I just kept having this sense that there was something so much more exceptional for me available in my life. And so in 2017, I decided I would do dry January. And somewhere within that 30-day period, I kind of had the wherewithal to realize that 30 days was not going to do anything significant to that relationship. And so I extended my journey to 90 days and then to 6 months. And by the time I got to a year alcohol free, I had, number one, started talking about the journey to where it kind of established a little bit of accountability in the bigger world. I was blogging, I was doing an Instagram account. And by the time I hit a year, I had people coming to me and saying, oh, by the way, yeah, that's my story. Me too. How could we work together? And I felt also just really good without alcohol. So not only had I created this perfect storm of kind of needing to stay alcohol free because other people were wanting my support, but also this desire to keep living this life that I was living. And so as I rode that wave, things started to evolve. It's kind of like I had put the pieces into place. I had a coaching certification. I had a background in coaching and marketing and consulting. I knew at some point that in my life that I wanted to be a speaker and a teacher and an author. And it's like the universe just conspired to kind of put this in my path. Oh, hey, we're going to put students in your path so that you continue teaching this. And we're going to put all of these other pieces together so that all of the pieces from your past start to make sense. For instance, this isn't part of my drinking journey necessarily, but one of my first jobs out of grad school was I worked for a business book author. And it didn't connect with me until a couple of years ago, how that job teed me up to be an author and a platform speaker and a teacher. And I just was like, wow, universe, you were lining all of this up the whole time. Yeah. And now I see the full picture. And so I've been alcohol free almost 7 years now. And I've been coaching and teaching in this space probably 6 years. And it's just all evolved in a very beautiful way.
That's so incredible. And I love what you've said there about how the things in our past kind of set us up to do what we're doing now. And I have this example from my life of I studied in school, I got a bachelor's of education, and I was a teacher for 6 years. And my mom has said before, she's like, well, I kind of regret paying that much money for your degree because now you're just a yoga teacher. And I said that to some of my students before, and they're like students in my yoga teacher training are you're applying so much educational philosophy to what you teach. And I see so much of my school teacher things coming into the way I lead my lessons, the way I lead my classes. And I love that you say that, because once I made that connection, I realized this actually wasn't a waste of time. It's perfectly prepared me for where I am today. And I think sometimes we can't connect the dots looking forward. We can only connect them looking backwards.
Yeah, totally. Same. I think that's so beautiful. And, I always wanted to be a teacher, but the practical application that we learn is, you go to be a, K through 12 teacher. And look at how we both like evolved that desire and that dream into something that works for us that maybe we wouldn't have envisioned as a child or even as a 20 something picking our degree.
Totally. Yeah. Would you have thought when you were 20 that you would be doing what you're doing now?
Hell no. I mean, I had switched, I had really started to let go of my actual like heart-led dreams that I had when I was a kid. And I had started to focus on what is the glamorous thing. Of course, I want to have a corner office and be, Carrie Bradshaw and wear high heels and a snazzy outfit. And that's what I started to formulate, like what I thought I wanted. And I kind of forgot about all of these other things that were like my heart-led desires. And alcohol kind of helped me forget about those. It kind of just kept me running on the hamster wheel with everyone else and thinking that I was following my dream when really it was just this like societal dream that had been sold to me that I was like, oh yeah, of course, that's my dream too. I'm going to do that. And yeah, no, I certainly would not. I would have hoped in my heart, but I wouldn't have thought it was possible because so many of the things I've achieved now were like fantasy level for me because they didn't seem practical. Working for yourself, being an entrepreneur wasn't a huge thing when I was an accessible thing when I was in my early 20s. And coaching wasn't quite the industry that it is right now. So no, none of these things I couldn't have even fathomed them because it just didn't seem practical.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your book, Unbottled Potential. So what made you have an idea to write a book?
Well, as I've been telling everyone, like I knew since I was in second grade, like I was going to write a book. And I have held on to this dream. I've always been a reader. I've always been captivated by words and storytelling. So I've always known that was a desire of mine. And I kind of, as I started into my alcohol-free journey, I thought, I have something here. I'm doing things a little bit differently than some of the other people I'm reading about and learning from. And I met early on while I was still at my 9-to-5 job. I met with this book coach. I have an episode on my podcast with her. Her name's Rochelle, who she used to work at Hay House, which was like the big publisher for Gabby Bernstein, Chris Carr, Wayne Dyer, like all of the who's who in the spiritual world who had become my idols were published by Hay House. And so she used to work there and I got connected with her somehow. And she decided to leave that job and start a coaching business. And so I remember leaving my 9-to-5 job on my lunch break and going out to the parking lot to have this secret call with her because I wanted to know what it looked like to work with her. And so she gave me all the details. And this was probably 2018, 2019, we're going to say. And I got off the call and I was like, listen, we're going to work together someday, but I'm not quite yet fully baked. I'm not like ready. My idea isn't ready to go. And then sometime during the pandemic in 2020, I got this download of like, okay, Amanda, you're ready. You have the pieces of the puzzle and they're ready to go. And I messaged Rochelle and I said, hey, I need to know, like, I'm ready to coach with you. What does this look like? And she said, as the universe does, she's like, well, I have a program that I'm piloting. It starts next week and I have spaces left. And I'm like, done and done. This is exactly what I need. And so I joined this program to help me, for those of you who want to write a book, one of the first pieces of the process isn't to write the book, but actually to do a proposal, which is crafting the pieces, putting an outline together for the book, and also making a creative argument that your book is one that needs to be written and that you are the one who needs to write it. And that's how you get connected with an agent. And then that's also what an agent takes to a publisher. So I needed this piece of, professional document, and she taught me how to make it. And that's also where I really like hashed out the ideas of my book with her as my thought partner to like really make sure that I had a strong book that I could present to an agent and then a publisher.
That's amazing. It's so incredible to hear how the pieces just kind of fall into place and, you connected with her at one point and then just waited to receive that download and then it began to come together.
Yeah. And like how great that I contacted her the week before she had something starting. And it wasn't like a bullshit, like, oh, well, just what perfect timing, Amanda, let me tell you something. It was like genuinely, she had something starting within the next 7 days. So just perfect, universal serendipities happening.
Yeah, that's incredible. And so I'm wondering, so then you wrote the proposal, then did you wait for it to get accepted before you started writing, or did you just start writing from there?
So I had the way that I decided to, and I know that we'll probably talk about some logistics here. I had a program at the time that I'm getting ready to re-release as the book comes out that I formatted the book content around. It was really all of the things that people kept coming to me for and the lessons that I kept repeating over and over in my coaching sessions to help people understand their relationship with alcohol and then shift that relationship. And the next thing that you need to do is go after an agent. And so from the get-go, I knew, one of my core teachers is Gabrielle Bernstein. And I thought, how cool would it be if I could have Gabrielle Bernstein's agent? And so I just set that in my mind, like, that's what I want. That is my desire. And that's also kind of a tall order because guess what? She's a multi-New York Times bestselling author. I am a not yet that. And so I put this is super creepy, and I think that he knows this, but I'll tell you anyway. So I got on his Instagram and I found this picture of him and a woman, an event, and I printed it out and I cut out my face and put it on that woman's head and put it on my vision board.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, like super creepy vision board moment. And I'm like, that is who's intended to be my agent. And so I had reached out to another agent as my coach recommended, and they declined my proposal. And I was like, that's fine because I want someone else anyways, no big deal. And unfortunately, I looked on the website because my coach, Rochelle, said, pitch Steve your book. And I said, well, I can't because he's not accepting clients. He says he's closed. And she said, you know what? Well, he's a friend of mine. Let me reach out and see if he'll take a look at it. And so she sent me a note. She said, yeah, he'd love to take a look at your proposal. And I thought, I didn't even take it seriously. I thought it was like, oh yeah, so cute. He'd love to take a look at it, but I know he'll never get to it. And I actually didn't I wasn't putting any weight on it. And by the first of the year, I had a message from the agency that they wanted to pick me up. And so I completely manifested the exact agent I wanted at this really sought after agency. And I don't know if it was my Instagram creepy Pinterest board or just general manifestation, but yeah, that Alex, I can't tell you how many of the pieces of the puzzle, and I am not someone who life has always come easy for. I don't have any connections or an affluent family or any of these things. And to have that fall into place. And then, my agents, I have two, they send it out to publishers who they think would be interested. And I got an offer from Avery, which also published Annie Grace's book, This Naked Mind. And it all happened so easily that I'm a control freak and an anxious person. I'm a worrier and will things happen. I don't remember ever having an ounce of worry in this entire time, just because I knew it was taken care of. And every piece just happened to fall into place to where I was getting the opportunity to write this book. So to answer your question in a very long-winded way, I did not start writing immediately because you kind of need to make sure that the book that you've proposed, they don't have the publisher doesn't have any changes to it. So by the time it got to Avery, they said, we want to purchase this book. And then they look through the proposal. Then that's when you kind of get the marching orders to, okay, go. Because you don't want to write too far in advance and have them say, actually, based on our research or based on what we think, we want you to do da-da-da-da-da. So I just kind of sat on my hands and waited, and all of those things fell into place.
That's amazing. That's so inspiring. And I love, it's just like a perfect example. And I know there's a lot of people that think that manifestation is whatever, woo woo or not real, but I feel like it's almost like an intuitive knowing of this is what's going to happen, And so it's not necessarily your mind willed it or anything, but you just got really confident in your your inner guidance, and you just knew this is the path that it's going to lead
is happening. I fully believe it was all manifested. Now, here's the thing with manifestation. I didn't sit at home thinking, I have a book deal. I got the coach. I wrote the proposal. I went after the agent. I had the meetings, and these are all things that I had to do to move the ball around. But the things it felt so easeful and so congruent that it was it wasn't like some of the experience I had in my past when I'm applying for jobs or going after a promotion or some of the things that felt like I was trekking through mud to accomplish them. It just felt so easeful. And I teach a little bit about it in the book about how I believe being alcohol free helps you manifest. It just helps you align with your desires. And I think that this story is just living proof of how that can happen so easily.
Yeah. And, I love that you added all of the action steps that you took, because I feel that this is one of the biggest misconceptions about manifestation. And I certainly felt this way before I understood really what the practice is. Like, I thought it was people just kind of willing things in their mind to happen, but it requires actual active work. It's like, okay, I have a dream, and then I'm going to actually be dedicated to do the things to make that dream happen. And then I'm just going to trust that it's going to happen. I'm going to let it go.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And, it wasn't so I would also say, like, the significance of me printing out that picture of me with that agent. It wasn't like, oh, that's what made it happen. But it was sitting, I'm like looking at my computer right now at my eye level every single day. I was looking at it and holding that vision and just envisioning it and believing it was true and taking the actions to make it so. And that I think if you can do all of those things, if you can align and take the action at the same time, you really set yourself up for some miracles to happen in your life.
Yeah. I'll give one example of this, which is when I was visualizing moving to Bali. So I was living in Abu Dhabi, and I was visualizing like building up, quitting my teaching job and moving here to Bali. And I would visualize myself teaching yoga in the yogashala where I studied to do one of my yoga teacher trainings. But I was like, there's tons of yogashalas in Bali. Like, I don't think I'm going to necessarily work in that one, but it's just kind of like a blueprint for me, or framework of like, whatever. I work at that yoga school now. Like, I'm their vinyasa teacher. And every day when I'm in the yogashala, I'm just like, this is so crazy that this, like, I could be working at any yogashala in Bali, but it's like this one. Yeah.
We are powerful creatures. And I just want everyone to know and feel that, because it's easy to feel down on your luck or feel hopeless. And I think that once you get aligned, that miracles can happen.
Totally. And let's talk about this on the topic of like alcohol and manifestation. What's the link between like sobriety and manifestation?
Yeah. So the way that I look at it, and, in my story, I was on a spiritual journey, and I was still a drinker. So I was like, woke woman during the week, party girl on the weekends. And I thought, oh, that's balance. Like, you can have the best of both worlds, but really it wasn't balance. I was actually, just evening out the scale. So for all the work that I did during the week to like raise my vibration, I pulled it down on the weekend with this, kind of mindless activity. So we had, me trying to be mindful, and then me being completely mindless for 3 days. And that completely kind of canceled out the weight of all of the other work that I was doing. And so I had added all of these spiritual, manifestation, mindfulness, metaphysical practices to my life. I was doing all the things. I had the angel cards, the manifestation journals, the crystals, the prayer practice, the meditation practice, the yoga, whatever. I was doing it, and it all seemed to be like kind of working, but like not really working. Like, I didn't feel it. And the reason is that, I was adding all of these things, but like I said, like, alcohol was bringing me back down. It was canceling it right back out. And so my vibration was really never raised to the level of the desires that I had. So, and also my self-confidence at that point, like, was not great, even though I was really trying. I was going to therapy. I was doing all of these things. But what it amounts to is, it's not how much you do. It's not necessarily an addition equation. It's a subtraction equation. So I realized that when I stopped drinking alcohol, I subtracted this thing from my life that was incrementally weighing me down, holding me down, pulling my vibration down. So, if someone was watching a video of this, but I'll explain, like, let's imagine my right hand is above my head, and these are the level at which my manifestations are occurring. This is high vibration. But my vibration as a human being who's drinking and has low self-esteem, even though I've done all these spiritual practices, is like down by my shoulder. It's not a great vibe. So the energy it takes to get from my shoulder to above my head energetically is a lot. And when I stopped drinking, my energetic vibration automatically increased. Plus, all of those things that I had been like canceling out before, those added into the practice. And now my dreams and my energetic vibration are at the same level. And we were magnetized together. And this has happened not only with the book, but so many things in my life. And I think that what we don't realize is how much energetically alcohol pulls us down and keeps us stuck in low vibration. and also makes ineffective some of the other great things that we're doing. And so if you want to manifest more quickly, you kind of just got to get out of your own way and stop diluting yourself, stop bringing yourself down. And oh, by the way, that's also going to create more space for you to cultivate a spiritual practice, heal some wounds that are keeping your self-confidence low. And so it's just like this magical equation that can just help you call goodness into your life more quickly, in my mind.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's a great answer. And I know I definitely resonate with it. It's like I had a dream for many, many years. And then right when I got sober, it all started to click. And I'm sure a lot of people in also going through the sobriety journey can resonate with elements of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just so beautiful. And I want that for more people, because the world will be a better place if more of us are living out our dreams and healing our wounds and not just sitting in our shit and drowning it with alcohol and hoping that someday, maybe if we work hard enough, our dreams will come true.
Yeah, absolutely. So in your book, you organized it into two parts. You have Bottled Up Brilliance and you have Claiming Your Unbottled Life. Can you tell me a bit more about like how you decided to organize it this way? Did you always know that this was how you were going to organize it, or did it come later on?
Well, let's just say, Alex, that writing a book is a little bit of a shit show. And in the best way, but I created a lot of struggle for myself, because I did kind of have the book organized into two parts. And I had done this whole process where I had like Post-it notes and note cards, and I'm mixing them all up and really getting clear on the order. And then when I sat down to write, I felt nervous, because this is like, this won't be the first and only book that I write, or this is the first, but it won't be the only book that I write. But it's such, you're putting something in stone. You are like just putting something out there, and you want to make sure that it's right. And I rearranged and rewrote this book so many times. I probably wrote 3 books in the process, and I learned so much doing it. But eventually it kind of got back to the original proposal that I had written, which was, yes, to have this book in 2 pieces. So I ended right back where I started, because my intuition knew, was right from the beginning. But the first part of the book is really, there is some of my personal story woven in. And it's not necessarily, I think what's unique about this book is it's not like my drinking stories and all of like, rock bottoms and terrible nights. It's more of like, how was that keeping me stuck? And why was I stuck in the loop? And so here are some ways, let me turn you on to some ways that alcohol is bottling up your brilliance, keeping you small, keeping you stuck, and some ways that you can shift your mindset, some ways you can look at that relationship with alcohol to make it make more sense. Because I know that so many people understand the science behind alcohol. There's a lot of great teachers out there who have broken that down. But in my mind, I needed to understand like, well, yeah, I know it's bad for me. I took DARE class. Like, I get it. So why do I still want this in my life? Why am I still attracted to this thing? And once I was turned on to the idea that it was like bottling up my brilliance, keeping me small, keeping me from shining, that was what I needed to be like, oh, that's enough of this bullshit. And I think that that's the way that I teach. And a lot of people, once they see that, are able to kind of like call themselves out and call themselves up as well. So I really wanted the reader to get a sense of, this is how the sneakiest little ways, the sneakiest little beliefs that are tucked back in the recesses of your mind that you are holding on to that might be keeping you stuck in this relationship. And once you get those unpacked out of, the recesses of your mind, it makes it a lot easier to say, I don't think this thing is for me. And so the second part of the book is really about, okay, now that we're aware of that, let's actually dive deeper and get clear on the ways that alcohol has held you back and kept you small and stunted your growth emotionally, socially, professionally, in your relationships, in your personal life, so that you can be really clear on the areas that you have opportunity to grow and do some work. And here's some ways that you can do that and be aware of it. Because I think that so often we think that, alcohol's reach doesn't go that far. We want to believe it's pretty harmless, but in reality, it's emotionally keeping us stuck in place. It's spiritually, as we talked about just with manifestation, keeping us disconnected, but it's also infiltrating so many other layers of your life, even while you're not drinking, because it's putting this like dull film, this fuzz, this, fog over your life, even on the days when you don't think you're hungover, but you're really still not operating at full capacity because your body's like fighting through the alcohol fog. So I really wanted to give some practical tools and some tools that were a little out of the ordinary from what I'd read in other quit lit books and seen other teachers offer to help people just be inspired that this isn't like this terrible, scary journey. It's actually an opportunity. It's something that can help you achieve the life that you want to achieve really in a simple way. I won't say easy, but in a simple way.
I love that. And I've read a lot of your book. I haven't read through the whole thing, but something I noticed about it while I was reading it was like, I've been running the Sober Girls Yoga Book Club since I started the community. So over 3 years. And we read some amazing books, but often the feedback from a lot of our members is that they just can't relate to the book that they're reading because a lot of my members are more like, well, not everyone, that's a generalization, but some of my members are like more gray area drinkers, more not necessarily like someone who had to go to rehabilitation, for example. And of course, there's a huge mix, but sometimes I get people reading some of the main quit lit books and saying, I don't exactly resonate with this. And so that was one of the things I loved about your book was that I was like, I just feel like this is for this audience that hasn't really had a book yet written for them, you know, like the gray area drinkers, and it definitely brings a new spin on things.
Yes. Thank you. That was really my intention. And, you know, one of the things that I was kind of stubborn about is I really tried not to read any of the emerging quit lit books while I was writing because I wanted to try and stay as like clear to my own journey and ideas and thought process as possible. And then afterwards, I went back after I turned everything in, then I started like reading everything just to see like, okay, this is actually, now I'm doing the research. And what I found is that, the way in which I look at this journey is a little bit different because honestly, most of those books, I think so many books are very, very valuable, but they didn't resonate with me because I was so stubborn and I knew that I didn't need support with addiction or traditional recovery. And every time I read the word recovery, I was like, nope, that's not for me. Another one, not for me, kind of like throwing my hands up in frustration. Not that those books wouldn't have been helpful. I actually, now I look at them, I'm like, wow, these are so valuable. So many good takeaways. I wish I wouldn't have been so stubborn, but I was really stubborn. And that was part of my ego, like probably trying to keep me stuck. And so if I could have just found a story from a person like me who was a average run-of-the-mill drinker who just wanted to live a better life, I think that maybe I would have made the decision earlier. I wouldn't have been so adverse to it.
Right. And I think that your book is going to impact a lot of people that find themselves in that position.
Yeah, I really hope so. Thank you for saying that.
Okay. So I'm wondering, when you were doing the editing process, were there any bits? Well, first of all, how did you decide like what to keep in and what to take out?
Oh, that was a difficult process. I mean, Alex, I can't tell you how many times I threw like temper tantrums in my writing process of where does this story go? How do I, keep this in here? Is this important? Is this not? Luckily, of course, at Publishing House, you get an editor who is kind of a thought partner with you. But much to my chagrin, my editors at my specific publisher, they really want to keep the heart of the author's story. And so they were like, no, Amanda, you know what you're doing. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think I know what I'm doing right now. I'm freaking out. So it was a lot of writing and rewriting. And then, my process is very modular. So I like to put things on note cards and move them around. And finally, I think I just got the right combination. And there wasn't much that, there wasn't anything that was too vulnerable or too insignificant. I thought, I really want to, share as much as possible without, revealing too much about, another relationship or a person. And I don't think there was anything that while I was writing, I was like, oh man, I wish I wouldn't have told that story. I wouldn't have said that, or everything like really has an intention and a purpose in there. And if anything, like I almost wish in some pieces that I, maybe would have gone deeper into the stories and the experiences, but also at the same point, I think that everything is just as it's supposed to be. I think it's all exactly there as it was intended. And I'm pretty confident in this because I went back and if anything, there's probably just some like minor editing, like words that I wish I wouldn't have used so frequently that I'm like, wow, Amanda, you were really stuck on that one, huh? And I recognize that, I just recorded the audiobook a couple of weeks back, which was a wild trip to go back and read word for word, everything in order. And at the end of that process, I was like, wow, sis, you did a good job. You did a good job. And I think that was a really cool piece of the process to see it all come together and actually read it aloud. And are there errors? Are there things down the road that I'll, wish I would have added in or taken out? Maybe, but I think that right now it's what it's supposed to be. And just coming full circle with the audio, reading the audio, I feel like, yeah, that's where it's right where it needs to be.
I love that. Oh, amazing.
Yes.
Amanda, this has been such an incredible episode. Just amazing to hear your inspiring journey from the point where we left off until now. And I know it sounds like it's just been a tremendous amount of work and effort and really putting into action all the steps to make this dream happen. So congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so excited to share it with all of you.
So it comes out. Can you tell us what day it comes out officially?
Yeah, it comes out on Tuesday, October 3rd, and you can get it anywhere books are sold, audio copy, Kindle, paperback. And depending upon when this episode comes out, I just want to invite anyone who does purchase early that I'm hosting a virtual party on October 7th to celebrate. And anyone who pre-orders the book before the 7th is invited to that. And all that information is on my website, which we can put, I'm sure, in the show notes for this. And I would love, love, love to have more folks there to celebrate.
Amazing. Yeah. I'll probably be there if it works for my time zone.
Yes.
I'd love to. And for anyone that's listening, we do Sober Girls Yoga Book Club every single month. And Amanda is going to come to the book club and be our guest author. Yay. I think it's October 17th.
I think so as well.
Yeah. So third Sunday in October, and we will do our regular check-in meditation, and then Amanda will be there for the discussion if anyone has any questions for her. So definitely grab your copy of the book, and we'll see you at the club. The book club is free for anyone, so you don't have to be a member to join.
Hey, I'm so excited.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much, Amanda, and I'll see you very soon.
Thank you, Alex. We'll talk soon.